My name is Gino Hart. I am the designer of the TINTANIC, the largest Titanic model in Africa. And also the Hindenburg, the largest airship model in South Africa. I come from a tiny town in the Free State, which is a big rural province with tiny little towns in it. And I never thought that I would be doing what I do today. And it's been such a magical, special journey. I worked in advertising, and when the magazine that I worked for closed, I decided to follow my dream. And my dream was to build the biggest Titanic model that the world had ever seen. It wasn't going to be this pristine Titanic model. It was going to be something that had a quirk to it, something that was original, almost like a past life memory. My fascination really began with the Titanic when I was about 14 years old. It was really the work of author Walter Lord, who wrote the book A Night to Remember, which is the most definitive Titanic book on the market. To this day, it's one of the best written accounts of the Titanic disaster. And it was really about the history of the real ship, the people who were really on board. That's the stuff that fascinated me. When the magazine closed in 2013, I thought, well, now I can either go and find another job in the media, or I can apply what I'd learned in the magazine industry and find sponsors for this project and work for myself. And even as I sent the email, I thought, well, this is crazy. They're never going to go for this. But we had a follow-up meeting, and a couple of weeks went by, and eventually we did have a meeting. And it didn't take long to deliberate over the subject of this Titanic project that I was talking about. So they said to me in the meeting, the reason why you're here isn't, to convince us to go with this project. We've already decided we're going to go with it. We just wanted to see if you were for real. So that was how the project really began. Okay, so where does one start with a project like this? As a child, I'd experimented with many various prototypes out of cardboard box and other materials, and I used to sink them in the Val Dam or in somebody's swimming pool in their backyard, and I got so much enjoyment out of it. And every model I would build would get bigger and better, and each one would be an improvement on the one that came before. Until 18 model prototypes later, I decided now was the time to really go for it, to really build a Titanic model worth mentioning. There was a lot of sanding and sawing and drilling and hammering noises coming from my studio. I worked 24/7, 7 a.m. in the morning until very, very late at night. Sometimes I'd find myself at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'd be like, I've been awake all this time. Naturally, I had to do 46,328 tons of research on the project before the TITANIC could actually be built. I had a dream of building a Titanic model where you would see character figurines, cartoonish-like, come to life on the model. And you know, it wasn't just about creating the figurine, it was about what is the figurine doing. My biggest fear on building a Titanic model has always been rooftops that sag or built skew, so that was always a challenge for me as well. I was very careful that my structure that I was building with on the inside, internally, was going to be supporting the decks that are on top of it. Because I mean, we're talking about 400 kilograms that had to be layered one on top of the next, and it had to be moved around quite a bit. It's not just an empty hollow shell of a ship. This model would have 4,000 rooms on the inside on 9 different deck levels, and it would be decorated to the greatest detail. And this is something that nobody else has ever done on this massive scale. The concept was a giant 27-foot Titanic model called TINTANIC, because it was made out of tin. The slight name change was very important for me because it created copyright for me as the artist. It set it apart from all other Titanic models around the world and referred to the material that the model was built out of, tin. It made absolute sense to rename this model from the Titanic to the TINTANIC. It would convey something of a past life, almost like you were there but in cartoon form. So that's what it was all about. The TINTANIC could not have been built without sponsors. This was a thing that required corporate funding. So that was the starting point for the project, Lloyd. So this project demanded to be seen as a full-time job, around the clock, if I was planning to have it built in the fastest possible turnaround time. I was so fortunate to have the backing and the support of so many people who believed in this concept and in my artwork. I literally went out and sold icebergs to people. Of course, it was all this reach for a dream stuff, anything is possible. That's the stuff that they wanted to hear and be associated with. That's the only reason TITANIC was built, because we could promote a experience, that self-awareness that you're better than you think you are.